Hey, yo, I feel like talking my shit. I feel like talking my shit. I feel like talking my shit. I feel like.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is Drea.
And your girl Billy.
And
And
together
together
we're
we're
220
220 something.
something.
Y'all already know what time it is.
Yeah, it's that time to get cozy, grab a drink, and just vibe with us as we speak today about self-love and self-care.
So far, throughout our episodes, we've been discussing red flags, toxic situations, and what a friendship heartbreak is.
That's right. So now how do we learn to give back to ourselves after being exposed to these inevitable life situations?
But before we begin, we will, of course, start out with our staple mental health check in.
Let's go. So, Billy, what's up? What is your positive, sweet, and your low for this past week?
If I had to say my positive, sweet, um, I think, this past week was Thanksgiving. I hope all of our audience had a really great Thanksgiving holiday, whether they celebrated the holiday or not.
Mhm.
So I think it was just getting to spend time with family and friends over a meal, and just, reflecting. I feel like Thanksgiving is always a time to reflect on what you're grateful for in the past year, despite whatever is happening. Um, a low for this week is that I am still sick and recovering from a nasty sinus infection. Um, I've been getting better, but I've had some really like stuffy nose nights, which is just hard on sleep. But that's really my low, for this week. What about you? What's going on with you,
I hope
Andrea?
you feel better soon, okay?
Thanks, me too.
Well, for me, positive sweet would be just like you said. Thanksgiving just passed, and I am very grateful that I was able to spend time at home with my parents, with my dog, with my two very close girlfriends, and of course, them bringing their dog daughters. So basically, you, Billy, and my best friend, Bailey, which is Billy's dog, Lola, which is my best friend's dog, and then I have my dog King. And it was just fun having everyone and all our children together. A Lolo for this week. Also, just like you, Billy. I have a sinus infection. I was prescribed antibiotics. So we're still getting there, trying to get better, but we will get better this week, this new upcoming week. Okay?
Absolutely. We will overcome.
Mm-hmm. Of
It will be better.
course.
So let's get started with our segment for today, where we are going to be talking about, as Drea mentioned, self-care and self-love. And we're just going to start off like, Drea, how would you define self-love and self-care?
So self-love to me is speaking good, positive things to yourself. Being able to be strong enough to look at yourself in the mirror despite like all your insecurities and say, you're that bad bitch. And to get there, we have to do self-care. So whether that's either like journaling or saying affirmations or just taking a walk, it could be anything so simple, but just providing the love that your body needs to feel better. That's what I think.
Okay, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, I think self-love is just seeing the worth in yourself, um, knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you deserve good things, positive intentions, um, high vibrations. I think that is what I would define as self-love. Um, and it's just like loving on yourself, like
Mhm.
despite what anyone around you says, it's seeing the beauty in yourself always, and um beauty in times where you are actually, dressed up, but even in those moments where you're dressed down. So just seeing who you are, seeing deep into your soul, and not just the physical thing. And then self-care for me, I think you said it really perfect, is like self-care is kind of how you get to that place of self-love. But I also think of self-care as just taking care of yourself, not just doing the bare minimum, not just maintaining, but going above and beyond and really providing yourself with things that are necessary, but also things that you just want. I think it's taking yourself out to dinner, it's having dates by yourself, it's buying yourself really nice things or luxurious items every once in a while. So yeah, that's kind of where I land on with self-love and self-care.
Yeah, it's basically giving yourself all the love that you crave and expect from someone else. After having these different thoughts, how does Google define self-love and self-care?
Yeah, so self-love is defined as a regard for one's own well-being and happiness. And then they have like in parentheses, chiefly considered as a desirable rather than narcissistic characteristic. And then for self-care, we have the understanding or determination of one's own nature or basic qualities.
Yeah, I think our definitions pretty much resembles that definition, those definitions in some way. But wow, in self-love they threw the word narcissist. So I don't know if this is going off topic, but where would being an empath fall into? Like, does an empath, because they feel so much, do you think it's harder for them to self-love and self-care?
No, and I think what I will say is they're saying that self-love is not narcissistic. It's more of it's more desire to love yourself and not be a narcissist. So I think that's kind of what the parentheses are stating. But to answer your question, I think for an empath, it's even more reason that they need to give themselves a lot of self-love, because as an empath, you pick up on people's energy, you feel what other people feel or the things around you. And so I think it is very much necessary for an empath to really focus on self-love and self-care for themselves, because they feel things very, very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
What are the differences in your opinion between, I guess, what we talked about and as what we see self-love and self-care versus the definitions that are found online? Or even, let me just mix it up and let me just reframe my question. What do you feel like is the difference based on these definitions, kind of a mix of what we said and what popular culture defines? Because I self-care and self-love because I feel like nowadays you go on TikTok or you go on YouTube and you have a lot of different magazines and blogs and just a lot of media influence that talks about self-love and self-care. Do you feel like these definitions align across the board, or do you feel like there's some difference in what we've said, what the definition is, and kind of what we see online?
Well, I definitely think that there's an order, in my opinion. For example, like self-care is you laying that foundation, you deciding what you want to do to love yourself. Self-love is just, the rest of the house that you're building. But without self-care, I feel like you can't reach to the point of self-love, because you have to commit to a certain type of discipline that you can't give up on yourself no matter what you're going through. That's what I think. Like, that's the difference.
I mean, I think based on the things that we stated in this definition that we have in front of us, and what we see on media, I definitely think that it goes across the board. And I think there are different ways to provide yourself with self-care. I also think that there are different ways to provide yourself with self-love. So I do agree that self-care can lead to self-love, but I don't necessarily feel like I feel like you can build self-love even if you're not doing self-care. And I feel like it's because there are different things that you could be doing. That's just my opinion.
So can you state an example? Because I feel like it's just self-care is the process to self-love, regardless if you do anything. Like if you just sit there and you reflect, that's self-care because you're taking a moment to just reflect and think and process your feelings. You're giving yourself that time, which equals self-love.
Yeah, that's true. But I think like for me, self-love is an example that I can give is like this is an activity that I practice. It's like when I get out the shower, I'll stand in my mirror and I'll look at myself naked and I will love on myself. And I don't think that that's self-care. That's just me taking time to admire the body that I'm in, being thankful for, you know, having these limbs that work, having this body that works, that takes care of me, that nourishes me. And that is just a self-love activity. That's not self-care. I'm not treating myself to anything. I'm not buying myself anything. I'm not pampering myself. I'm just admiring myself. And that is loving on me. Affirmations are another form of self-love because that's not necessarily me taking care of myself. That is me acknowledging and loving on myself by having positive self-talk. So I definitely think that there's a difference between the activities you can do for self-love versus for self-care. I think also like another activity for self-love could also be like masturbation. Like that is a form of self-love. You're getting to know yourself, you're getting to know your body. And so I would not say that those are personally self-care things. I would say that those are self-love things. Self-care things to me is just like taking a long hot shower, using a new body wash, maybe, putting on a new pair of panties, putting on a new pair of pajamas, like lighting a candle, maybe reading a book. Like those are things that I look at as self-care versus self-love.
So more on the physical realm.
Yeah, more in the physical realm, more of just spending extra time catering to myself and my body and use in a physical form. Yeah. So and self-care can be taking a day to do nothing, resting. Like it can also be things like that too. But I think self-love, like there are people, I think the thing that I think when I think about it, sorry, I'm like going back and forth, but it's like there are people who love themselves who don't take care of themselves. And there are people who care for themselves who don't love themselves. So interchangeably, you have to provide some type of self to both of these things. And there are different activities that can be done to do those things. So
I love that. I really love that. Okay. And yeah, like I agree with you. And also like putting it into more perspective, I think like self-love deals more with your internal world.
Right.
And then self-care deals more with your outside world. So yeah, I definitely love that. Okay, so Billy, what do you do to take care of yourself and love yourself? What else do you do?
Yeah, I work out, I exercise, I go to kickboxing. That's like an exercise that I really enjoy. I think a lot of people in this world exercise. I do like to go to the gym and I do like to exercise, but in kickboxing, I found something that I really enjoy, that I really like, that I'm really motivated to do, that I'm determined to get better in. So I think that that's really important too. And I think, again, referencing back to our definition, like that's like a form of self-love. It says like a regard for one's own well-being and happiness. So I found an activity that is well for my body, I'm physically capable of doing, and it makes me happy, so it's not like, oh, I'm just working out because I want to lose weight and it makes me miserable, or I hate this type of activity. It's like, I love this activity that I'm doing, I want to do it, it makes me happy, and in the same motion, I'm going to lose weight, right? I'm going to become fit, I'm going to be toned. Like, so I think that that's really the importance of it as well. It's not just like doing things because you have to do it or need to do it. It's like doing it because you love to do it as well. And that's that extra step of like self-love. Other things that I do, I like to explore and do different things. So today I went to and I tried this out for the first time, and it was something that I've been wanting to try out for a really, really long time. And it was float therapy. So float therapy is like a Epsom salt bath, but like to an extreme level. It's like, I think I want to say it's like 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in a
Wow.
pool, and you just basically get in it and you float. And so that is what I did today. It's like a hour long. And that is what I did today. And I wanted to try it out for so long. And like I did it. I'm happy that I did it. And I really do feel like it was my first float only, but I really do feel like I reap the benefits because flow therapy is supposed to be good for like anxiety, for stress, to relieve tension in your body. It's good for people who want to meditate or heal, and for other like chronic diseases. So I really wanted to use it for the component of, because I work out so much, so like relieving that tension, relieving that stress, relieving that anxiety. And I really felt it when I left. Like I didn't feel as tense as I usually do. So that was one thing new that I tried out that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And that was like a part of my self-care Sunday. And I really loved it. It was very relaxing and calming. So like those are like two examples of activities that I do. And then I think I have a face care regimen. So like I try to stick to it, but I don't sometimes. But staying consistent with that makes me feel good. And when I fall off, I always like say, I need to go back to this, and I end up doing that. So those are a couple of things that I do.
Well, you heard it, guys. Billy had an amazing experience today, and I'm so proud of her for I'm so proud of you, Billy, because yeah, you got yourself out of your comfort zone. You do activities by yourself. That's something less on your bucket list. And if you want to see the whole floating therapy vlog, it's up on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube Shorts.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
But back to you, Drea. So what about you? What do you like to do to take care of yourself and love on yourself?
So usually to take care of myself, I actually enjoy working out, but I haven't. However, I've been walking a lot more. So I think that even though I haven't had enough time to fit going to the gym in my regular schedule, walking has helped me clear my mind, uplift my mood, and just get, the energy pumping my body. And also like when I shower, I started doing this every morning when I shower. After I finish showering from like hot boiling water, because I know like I love my skin boiling, I'll turn it off and just shower with cold water for a few seconds just to wake up and start my day. And besides those two, for self-love, after having a more clear understanding of these two terms, I would say speaking affirmations to myself. I have an affirmation app that reminds me, sends me affirmations. I say it out loud every time I get a notification from the app. And also what I started doing recently with my best friend is we FaceTime for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, and we just pick up a verse from the Bible and see if that resonates with us, and what can we take out of it and apply into our life. Yeah. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like the 10 to 15 minutes of reading the Bible. I was raised in the church, but I'm not super religious, and I have not picked up a Bible in a really long time. But I like the idea of just sitting with something, with a book, just reading and kind of going over it. I do like self-care or self-help books. So I might need to pick one of those up.
Yeah. So how would you say that your self-care and self-love routine has changed as you've grown, evolved, changed, like through a whole bunch of life experiences?
It has definitely evolved and changed. I have always, I'm a little diva. I'm not little anymore, but I've always been a little diva.
A sassy ass diva. Excuse me.
Very sassy. But yes, I think as I've grown, self-care has changed. I have a loving stepdad that has, we used to do like shopping trips when I was like I was what was I like middle school, high school. We would go shopping and go out to eat. So
Thanks for
that's always
me.
so that's so that's always been fun. I think, as a young girl, even with my own mom, like she would buy me books and like movie tickets or take me to Barnes and Nobles or just give me the autonomy to like go out and be with my friends. And I think that's kind of taught me self-care and self-love in a certain way. When I got to college, I started going to the movies by myself. I started going out to eat by myself. I would hear people always say, like, oh, I would never go out to dinner or eat by myself. And it's not really that scary. I don't know why people make it seem like it's this big, gigantic elephant in the room, like it's gonna be messy or it's really scary, but it's not. Like, and I think for people who haven't found peace with themselves, like it can be a little bit difficult. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but sometimes for people are afraid to be alone. You have to be okay being by yourself. And I've made that peace with myself really young. I've been an only child. I come from a big family, but I am an only child. So I'm used to being by myself in so many different ways, having to play with myself as a little kid, being by myself, having my Barbie dolls, having my toys, whatever it was. So
And how the toys have changed throughout the years. Not stop.
right. And now I'm using those by myself too. But yeah, I think as I evolve and as I grow, even as an adult, it's it's for me the experience in the finer things. So like I did float therapy today. That is something new. And disclaimer, I am a Black girl. I have braids down to my butt at this moment. And this float therapy, I brought a shower cap and my hair ended up still getting wet. And I wanted to be so annoyed about it in the moment, but I didn't. I wasn't annoyed. I was just like, whatever. And I was basically in this Epsom salt soak with my hair out, getting wet, which is like no Black girl's idea of self-care. So, it's just experiencing new things and going with the flow and being at peace while doing it. And, you know, making a lane for myself to feel comfortable doing something that might be uncomfortable or out of the norm for me and in my culture and where I come from. So this was a new experience. No, I don't have any Black friends that are like, yeah, go to float therapy, go to, go do this. I don't have any friends that are telling me to go to float therapy for that matter, but definitely not any Black ones. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe one person one friend that I do have, but it was a different experience. And so as I get older and I keep growing, I want to continue to do things like Drea has said that make me uncomfortable, that are out of my comfort zone. I can try it once. If I don't like it, I never have to go back or do it again. That's kind of like my motto in the lane that I want to be in. And what I want to point out last thing, because I know I'm like being a chatty Cathy, but when I was younger, I feel like my view on self-love and self-care was more materialistic. Now it's more of doing things, activities, making memories, things that I could talk about, things that I can be well versed in, broadening my horizons. That is kind of a lot of what has changed. And I still love my material things. Trust me, I just purchased an iPhone 14 and that was a part of myself. Like, I'm going to get me a new phone and it backfired. That's a different story. But,
Apple.
it was more material. And now it's like I said, doing things, being adventurous, living outside of my comfort, trying something once, trying it twice. If I don't like it, then it's okay. I can go back to my comfort, but really pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. So yeah.
Snap. I love that. I love that. You hit the nail on materialistic. So I definitely agree with you. Being materialistic was definitely part of my old childhood. I grew up in a very sheltered environment, so my mom would always do everything for me. So because of that, I gained a bad habit of not wanting to do anything alone. And I'm also an only child, so when I was a kid, I used to get like anything I wanted. And yeah, I guess people would call me spoiled brat. But then I feel like some trauma also came along with it because I would receive things after I was lectured or something. Like, and then coming from a Latino household, like parents could be very cruel, like even as a young child. But it has changed because I learned to be my own person. When I went to college, I had more freedom and I started to learn what I do and do not like. And then I got into a relationship, and because I didn't know how to be my own person, I brought in, childhood trauma into my relationship, which unfortunately did not end well, and that's okay. Um, After going through those, terrible chapters, I learned that it's okay to do things on your own. I started going to the gym by myself because I always was the person to depend on someone else to go to the gym. And if I wasn't included, I'll get so upset. So it's like a whole roller coaster, trauma, whatever. But the beginning of this year, I will disclose that I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and ADHD. And with that, I attended over 2 months of group therapy, which dealt with dialectical behavior. And what that means, you learn skills on how to cater to yourself, how to love yourself. And definitely some of the skills that I learned is like speaking affirmations to yourself to have a better self-love relationship within yourself. And then self-care, like what do you do to release all these angers and emotions when you're going through something? That would be like going for a walk or like dancing around my room. Like I really appreciate the evolution of my growth, even though my childhood wasn't emotionally the best.
Yeah, and I think, it definitely takes courage to admit those things out loud to yourself, and definitely to, all the strangers in the room and the people that you love. But, you know, I'm proud of you for doing the work and being open with your story, because there's nothing better than being you. You are you for a reason, and we need you to be you, because only Drea is going to show us who she is. No one else can be you. So
Absolutely.
that's that makes all the difference. And so keep continuing to grow, keep continuing to evolve, and keep continuing to be you while you do it, because
Yes,
no one can
ma'am.
copy or imitate that. That is uniquely you. So
Thank you, amiga.
yes.
Appreciate
um yes, appreciate you too. And I think, as you stated, there's traumas that get in the way, there's things that happen,
it.
and those things make us who we are. They don't define us, but they contribute to who we grow into. And so, you know, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but just to kind of wrap up this conversation, it's like, how did you start your self-care, self-love journey?
Definitely. Whoo. I feel like the peak of my self-care and self-love journey was the beginning of 2020, right before COVID lockdown. I had just gotten fired from my first real girl job. Um, I had a breakup. I was living in a new apartment with my parents, and it was just a lot going on. And I just had to choose myself for the first time because of my mental health sake. And I'm glad that I chose myself and I was selfish enough that I was able to just kick ass and transform into a phoenix, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
about you,
great.
Lily? How
Um,
did
how,
you?
how did I start my self-care? So, yeah, I think I have jump started a couple of different times, but I really think that I started my self-care and my self-love journey when I was in I want to say 6th grade.
Mhm.
And as a young child, I was very insecure. I used to get teased and bullied a lot in elementary school.
Ooh, me too, girl. Okay.
I never told my parents. I never told my mom about it. And I decided I would get teased a lot by boys. And so I decided to go to an all-girls school for middle school.
Like, say it to my face now. Let me stop.
um, but I had a lot of different things that I needed to work on. Emotionally for myself, and I resonate with the empath, so I think that I've always been very kind. I've always been very humble. I was very sweet, and now like everyone's like, oh, you're so sassy, you're very aggressive. And a lot of those characteristics I had to build for myself because I wasn't always that way. But that is the person that I grew into, and I still have a soft spot and a loving side, and I could be very overly sensitive at times, but it's definitely a protection mechanism. But at the same time, it is me living in my true form because it's me saying, this is who I am unapologetically. And that is who I am. I'm very funny. I like to, I bring the drama,
That's right.
literally sometimes.
You know.
But yeah, like that's when I kind of started my self-care journey, and it's just continued to build and build. And sometimes, like I said, self-care and self-love can start and it can stop. We have those moments in our life where we get drug through the mud, and we're just like, oh my gosh, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, blah blah blah, and then we have to blossom. And that is also I have a tattoo on my leg, and I have the lotus flower. And if anyone knows kind of the backstory of the lotus flower, it's the lotus flower grows in mud, like in a swampy waters, but it is a very beautiful flower. And so I resonate with the lotus flower because of that. And that is kind of like my ode to like self-love, and knowing that something can be in a bad environment, in a bad place, and still be beautiful. So that is one of the reasons why I have that tattoo. So self-journey, self-love, self-care can stall, but you have to get yourself to a place to start it back up. And so I have promised myself that for as long as I live and for the rest of my days, if there's going to be one person on this planet that's going to say that they love me unconditionally and forever, it's going to be me.
Period. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Billy, for sharing. I'm shook that you can like remember till like 6th grade. Yeah, I think I was just living and breathing. Like I don't remember anything before 2020. This is so sad to say. Well, I don't know this. Oh,
You remember what you want to remember.
yeah, exactly. I remember what I want to remember. But yeah, keep doing you and keep inspiring people with your words. I love it.
Yes, I will keep doing that. And to our viewers out there, make sure that you start your days, end your days with caring for yourself, loving on yourself. Give yourself a affirmation. Let's leave it on that note. What is an affirmation that you want to give the listeners, Drea?
This is something that I've been constantly repeating to myself, but your worth isn't determined based on someone else's action.
Okay. I love that one. And one I will leave you guys with is, I am worthy and deserving of all things beautiful.
Period.
Thank you for tuning in to our episode 5 of 220-Somethingss, and we hope to see you at the next episode.
Bye.